The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hey guys!
What is up? We are coming at you again.
How is your quarantine going, everyone? I hope it's going good.
Still here.
I don't leave my bed. I feel like I'm those grandparents in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So
Wait, why is that the third time that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has been referenced in my life? I don't like that.
Oh my god, I love that because it's like SpongeBob for memes.
There's a SpongeBob meme for everything. Well, shit, guys, thank you for all of the streams, all of the fucking downloads. That was kind of crazy. I guess everybody was like, all right, when these bitches coming back?
When I was searching through our Instagram on my crazy hunt, I saw someone be like, are you guys not putting out videos anymore? Or it was a comment like that.
Oh, shit. Also, I meant to text you this, Sarah. Hi, listeners.
Hello.
I know we post on Facebook a lot, and I just need to apologize that neither of us are really active on Facebook.
No.
I pretty much just go on Facebook, do what I need to do, and then like get off. I don't really dive in it. And I should, and we can both take responsibility for this, but
definitely.
We had, our inbox said there were 43 unread messages.
From one person?
No.
Oh. Wow, what?
Yeah, so sorry if I tried to get back to people, but I know I'm so sorry. We're better to contact on like Twitter or Instagram.
Twitter,
Yeah. My apologies because some of these messages were going back to like last summer.
Oh my god, we're the worst.
So my bad. I'm sorry. We weren't ignoring you. Someone thought we were ignoring them and said, sorry if I'm being annoying, and you weren't, and I felt really bad, so I apologize.
Also me.
Listen, I always think like when I'm sending a work email, like you would think with my personality I'd be like, yeah, whatever, but I'm always like, oh my god, was that annoying? Am I annoying these people?
Same. I'm like, oh my god, should I say this or did I say that wrong? I'm just like, every time I just think too much into it.
Bruh, I'm overthinking everything over here. I'm like, I can't use more than one exclamation mark, even though I really want to. Like, I want to seem friendly and approachable, but this is a professional this is a professional university. I need to keep it like together.
Grammar.
Professional.
Yeah. One time I meant to write aisle, but my computer changed it to easel, and my client didn't know. The word was easel, but it changed it to aisle, and my client didn't know what I was talking about. Proofread the shit.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Nothing.
What are you gonna do? At least it didn't like accidentally do fucking voice to text. My laptop, my work laptop is like brand spanking new, and it's got all the bells and whistles that I don't necessarily need, but I can appreciate. And I accidentally had my pinky because on the new Macs, the touch bar is like a thing, and Siri popped up, and I wasn't really paying attention. And I was talking to Mark because we literally sit across from each other while working in quarantine. And I was talking to him, and it was typing it out in a nice little email.
No, see?
Yeah, but luckily it wasn't like addressed to anybody, but I'm like, ooh, that's something. Can you imagine? Now, I will say one time I was in class. I was in a lecture hall, and my phone did decide to start reading my text message out loud. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, what does it say?
Luckily it wasn't anything too bad, but that was the same lecture. Oh my God. Sometimes I'm like, was I okay in college? No.
I wasn't.
That was the same. It was 2013, and there's a lecture hall, and it's kind of hard for me to explain, but to get to the next room, there's two lecture halls right next to each other, and to get to the other room, you have to walk to the front of the first lecture hall, but it was really just like a computer lab, but it was set up like a lecture hall, like, you know how like stadium seating kind of, where it's like you like a theater kind of. So I'm walking down the stairs, and you know how they have like those odd stairs that are like 1, 2, a half a step, 1, 2, a half a step, or like a really, really big step. And my rhythm was off, and I I can't be walking when I'm a little tipsy to class with my rhythm off. Did I have a margarita in my coffee cup? The answer is yes. Did I fall in front of many people in that computer lab on my way to a lecture hall? I sure did.
Moving on.
I passed the class by the grace of God. Oh my God, you will never guess what I found.
What did you find?
I found, do you remember my little bird box? Oh my God, bird box challenge, don't do it.
Yeah, the one that every time you'd open your fridge, it would literally shake.
What? Oh, no. You're talking about the little green thing.
Oh, yes.
No. I'm talking about my little bird box that had my specialties in.
Your bad boy box.
I opened it and I found the fucking Stop. I'm going to edit that out. John, edit that out. I can't leave that in. But I just wanted to tell you that I found that.
I work at a college. I can't.
I found it and I was like, what? Yeah, you gave it to me for my birthday.
Like, what?
You always had the best gifts.
Yeah, like what? Who does that? You're an enabler.
Every Friday, I've been doing like Zoom meetings with a bunch of people. There's, I think, like 12 of us.
Uh-huh.
It's mostly like my brother's friends and all of them who like, not grew up together, but like had the beginning of their college shits together. And
is Hillary in there?
Yes. Yeah. Because her husband that's how we know her, is her husband was friends with my cousin.
Right.
That's how it's a weird web of friends, but there's a bunch of us. And one of our friends, Henry, he put on like a PowerPoint presentation the last week.
I love that.
Someone suggested that it would be funny if we, like, each of us put together a PowerPoint presentation and then handed it off to somebody else who would then, almost like Impractical Jokers, where that person wouldn't know what it was about and would have to present it in front of the whole Zoom meeting, but we're all drunk by then and it's like...
Hold on. What? I have to let Charlie in, so you might hear.
Oh, God. Charlie. Oh, you're so dramatic.
Come on, Bubby.
I'm going to take this time to open my can of beer. So, I made an entire PowerPoint presentation that is titled, "All of the Birds Were Killed and Replaced by Government Robot Spies." Did you ever see that video? I think it was a Vine. It might be a TikTok. It might have been a little too late to be a TikTok. Where the guy's he's scooting on the rolly chair and he goes, "All of the birds were killed." And then at the end he's like, "The birds belong to the bourgeoisie."
Oh my God, no. That's probably so funny.
It is so me describing a meme that you haven't seen and you being like, yes, showing your support, but like in actuality, it's not funny if you're not.
Wait, oh my God, wait. I'm sure that's so funny.
No, I know. I'll send it to you. It's funnier when you fucking watch it. Additionally, did I drink 1.5 bottles of Coppola's Red Blend wine and then purchase not just one?
Oh my God, what did you buy?
But 2 digital copies of Gordy the Pig on iTunes? Yes, I did.
Oh my God, what's Gordy the Pig?
Oh my God, you've never seen Gordy the Pig? It's actually just called Gordy. And it's like a talking pig. It's kind of like Babe. I think it was the competing movie with Babe.
Wait, I feel like Babe? I just saw someone talking about Gordy the Pig.
Was it me?
I don't know.
Because right now it's right now I got hit with 2 receipts from Apple iTunes saying thank you very much for your drunk purchases.
You want Gordy? Here's Gordy, bitch.
Not just digital copies. I don't need 2.
2.
What am I gonna do with that? Maybe I can
Gordy
email you one.
Even sing?
Sing? No, it's a movie.
Oh fuck! I'm thinking like, okay, some like children's weirdo, like Blippi or something.
It's a talking pig movie. You said, what does Gordy even sing? Now, in your defense, in the movie, he does go on tour with a girl who's horrible at acting.
And it's Charlotte's one of those movies. Web, the pig talks.
I think in Babe the Pig Talks, right? I haven't seen Charlotte's Web in a minute. Wow.
Hell
it's been a while. But yeah, I can hook you up with the Gordy copy if you want one.
Can't wait to watch it.
Why is that movie was so sad? Like in the first scene, the dad gets taken away to a slaughterhouse. The little tiny piglet's running down the street and he's screaming, "I love you,
Dad!" And then he's like, I hate when they pan over to the pig and it's just them like squealing. Like, can you not?
I know it was a kids movie. It was so sad.
Just like Up was so sad.
Yeah. Heartbreaking. Well, guys, this is Esoteric Oddities. Hi. Welcome.
Hi, it's us. I hope you're enjoying it so far.
If you didn't know, we have a website, esotericoddities.com, and you can check out all of our episodes there with pictures, because I think
We
on
love
Instagram
pictures.
we've been posting. Yeah. Oh, I almost just threw up. It passed. Wait, it's back.
I've been
We're
throwing
good.
up in my mouth a lot lately.
That is so hot. I can't even begin to describe. So if this is the type of content you guys want to hear us talk about, trust me, baby, there's plenty of it. Head on over to patreon.com/esotericoddities. If you're down and out on your luck, and I totally get it, just saying it's there if you want. And yeah, I have no idea. I've also been thinking we haven't.
I have no idea.
I don't know. We haven't been picking topics. I forgot.
We haven't. We've just been
winging
whatever
it.
we want.
Well, mine today is murder. I'm
Mine's
assuming yours
murder.
is. Perfect. And a little birdie told me that Sarah's actually got two.
I have 2 stories because I'm an overachiever. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, you are. Look at you. I'm sorry. I realized that I literally just rambled on about 17 different things and didn't even give you a second to talk. I'm sorry. I've literally been sitting by myself through webinars where I can't talk all day.
Oh, it's okay. I like hearing you talk over me. I've been sitting in bed watching TV, so I have nothing in my life to report on.
Well, what are you watching? Report on that, bitch.
I am watching Little Fires Everywhere. I'm also watching Mistresses. That show is so fucking crazy. There's like a plot twist in every episode. I cannot deal.
You mentioned that before. Is that an hour-long episodes, I'm assuming?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
I want to start it, but I feel like there's a million shows I want to start, and then I find myself watching old episodes of trash.
No, you
reality
watched
TV.
yourself. You catch yourself watching that one pig movie. Bo's Pigs.
Gordy.
Bo's Pigs.
That's truly.
I've
All
also
this new content, and that's what
Okay.
I decided to do.
Bo's Pigs. I've been watching Too Hot to Handle. You would love that. It's like Siesta Key, but better.
Fucking the one girl from Siesta Key watched my Instagram story.
Oh my god, we love that for you.
Kara. Shout out to Kara.
Oh, I was like, yeah.
No, not you. The actual Kara.
If I feel like Charlie's gonna bust my door open, but I can't get up to get it because
Because we're situated.
we're situated
and we're
and
comfortable.
we're about to get into the story.
Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. I'm literally rambling. I feel like we've been rambling for the past 15 minutes.
This is my first. I don't know who you've talked to today, but this is my first human interaction. That's why it was diarrhea of the mouth, and then literally almost vomit. I'm here for it. Ramble on.
Okay, ramble me that. Okay, I'm gonna jump into it.
Oh wait, we should start a new podcast called Rambled Eggs.
Rambled eggs, and then make it just like shit we say.
Oh my god, and yeah, we'll just literally just ramble about random shit,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
we'll
It's
sip
random.
mimosas over brunch, and we'll call it Rambled Eggs.
It's ramble eggs, guys. Welcome to Ramble Eggs.
And then what's our catch? Because it can't be, hey guys, because that shit, let's be honest, getting annoying. We'll have to be, we could be like, hey eggs. No, that was
No.
dumb. John, edit that out.
Say, hey, you eggheads. Thanks for coming.
We'll take it.
Hey, you eggheads. All right.
Oh god.
So I'm gonna start.
Go off, sis.
Here we go. On February 22nd, 1946, 2 young individuals by the name of Jimmy Hollis and Mary Jean LeRae. I don't know if it's Larry or LeRae, but I'm going to say Larry. I know I said LeRae before.
Okay.
So Jimmy and Mary Jean, they were parked on a secluded Bowie County Road outside of Texarkana.
Is that in Texas?
Yes, I was just going to say that. So, Texarkana is a city in eastern Texas with the Twin City across the border in Arkansas, hence the name Texarkana.
Oh, wait, what's a twin? Forgive my stupidity. I don't.
It's a
What
twin
is-
city across the border. So, like, one part of the town is Texas and the other part of the town is Arkansas.
Oh, a little Mary Kate and Ashley going on. Okay.
Yeah. The 2 were forced out of the car by an armed man with a gun. The gun was a .32 revolver. Remember that because that's going to come up a lot in the story and also at
Okay.
the end. His face was hidden by a burlap sack with 2 slits for eyes. The man with the burlap sack mask beat Hollis with a gun, cracking Hollis' skull in 2 places.
Jesus.
The man told Mary Jean to run. When she scrambled towards the ditch, he told her to change direction and run towards the road. He then chased her down and sexually assaulted her with the pistol he carried before letting her run away. Both of these victims eventually recovered from their traumatic experiences.
Oh, so they lived.
Yes.
Okay.
On the night of March 14th, a couple by the name of Richard Griffin and Polly Ann Moore, who had only been dating for 6 weeks at the time, had dinner with Griffin's sister and her boyfriend as a double date night. Griffin and Moore were found dead later that night in their parked car at the end of a secluded road. Griffin, who was 29 at the time, was a veteran who made his living in carpentry and painting. He was shot fatally in the back of the head with a, you guessed it, .32 revolver. Moore, who was only 17, was living in a nearby boarding house with her cousin. She was also
fatally... so they were like teenagers.
Yeah. Well, this guy, Griffin, was 29. Moore was 17.
Oh.
Not really sure what he was doing with the 17-year-old.
Well, we kind of touched on it. Oh, I probably should have chose my words a little better.
Yes,
we somewhat discussed it, I think, in the last episode. Yeah.
Like back then.
1949. It's weird. Okay.
Yeah. Polly Ann Moore was also fatally shot in the back of the head. Bloodstains on the ground indicate that they had been killed outside the car and then put back in the car.
Oh.
A few weeks later, on April 14th, Paul Martin and Betty Jo Booker, who was 15, were hanging out at Spring Lake Park on the Texas side. This is what I'm saying by, like, it's a twin town and there's literally a Texas side and an Arkansas side.
Okay.
But besides the point. Paul and Betty began dating after a long friendship that started in kindergarten. Betty enjoyed playing... Right? Aren't they so cute? Betty enjoyed playing the sax in a local band, and Martin was picking her up to practice. It wasn't really clear where the practice was, but they ended up at Spring Lake Park. But 5 hours later, Martin's body was discovered. And Booker's body was found 6 hours later, laying 2 miles from Martin's body. They were both killed by being shot, and it was with a .32 revolver. Both the women were tortured and sexually assaulted. This caused police to start patrolling secluded roads and lovers' lanes. So the first two lived, but...
the rest did not?
Yes. The next month, on May 3rd, an isolated farmhouse in Miller County was the scene of another murder. Virgil Starks was shot twice and killed by an attacker standing outside the front window. When the dead man's wife, Katie Starks, heard the shots and ran to the phone, she was shot twice in the face.
Oh, shit.
She was able to escape and run to a nearby farmhouse for help. In all, 2 women and 3 men were killed. With each new murder, panic rose higher in Texarkana.
I fucking bet.
Right. Citizens bought weapons and stayed in their homes at night, literally dreading sundown. Law enforcement officials on both the Arkansas and Texas sides of the city worked the case. Texas Rangers arrived, including Manuel Lone Wolf Gonzalez. Apparently this guy is famous for something. I don't know what, though.
Okay, keep talking. I'm gonna look him up. I see him. It just says he's a long-time Ranger captain. I don't know.
Yeah, they were like the infamous, and I was like, who is this guy?
I don't want to read too much of this page I'm on because it's revealing things about the story, and I have not heard your story yet.
Oh, get out of here.
Get out of there. Delete
it.
I'm off. I minimized it.
This Texas Ranger, Manuel Lone Wolf Gonzalez, and reporters from all over the country flocked to town, adding a new level of chaos. When neighbors reported seeing strange lights from the Starks farmhouse, local police surrounded the home to only find Gonzalez and a woman reporter from Life magazine taking photos of the crime scene with flashbulbs.
Oh.
Yeah, so this guy sounds like a crook. The murders were soon coined the Moonlight Murders by the news media, although the first 2 occurred a week after the full moon, and the final attack occurred around the time of the new moon.
Yeah, but it'll sell tabloids. It's a good headline.
Right, Moonlight Murders.
Ooh, spooky Moonlight Murder.
Because the killer seemed to strike and vanish, the Night Stalker was also dubbed as the Phantom Killer.
Oh, I like that one too. I mean, I wish he didn't kill people, but like... I don't know. I think Moonlight Murder That has like a ring to it.
It like Moonlight Murder. Ooh. That's why I clicked this.
It's like kind of romantic because they're on like Lover's Lane and...
Right, but then they get
spooky.
killed because
Yeah.
they're having sex.
Don't have sex. Not that it's their... Okay, you know what? I'm going to retract my statement that I just said. I'm not blaming anybody.
Listen, all I've been doing is fucking.
What else is there to do?
There's nothing else to do. Anywho, the 1976 movie, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, was released internationally and is loosely based on the events, despite its claim that only the names have been changed, because the movie claimed that the story you are about to see is true, where it happened and how it happened. This is what they said in the movie, like through the rolling credits.
I vaguely remember hearing that title.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at it now. Ooh, okay. Spooky burlap sack. I don't like it.
Yeah, this guy was fucking creepy. I sent
don't
you
like
the like credits and pictures, and I was hoping that you didn't click them because this man is a spook.
No, I saw your name pop up that you emailed and it said credits and I didn't click it.
Oh yes, you're so good. But the fabricated parts created much of a myth and folklore around the murders for several decades. Like, just fucking pick up a book and read it and see what's actual true and what's actual false.
I know, but you know people don't want to do that.
They really don't. I think.
But then
I'm one of those
also
people.
in the defense of some people where that could happen, because I feel like this has kind of happened to me before. If you have it in your head that this movie you're watching is based off of like true events and you know what the events are, and then even if I did go and read the actual factual like statements of what happened in the real murders, I feel like the lines there would get blurred because my memory, you know me, if I don't write shit down, it don't get done. So I feel like I would...
You know me.
Yeah, for real. But
Yeah,
I feel like the line is kind of blurred there between like, what did I watch in a movie or what didn't I? Because sometimes I have like memories where I'm like, was that a dream when I was a kid? Or did that really happen to me? Or like a scene in a movie. I'm like, was that my life or was I watching The Babysitter's Club? Like, I got questions.
Or when you like dream something, you're like, did I dream that? Or did this person really say that?
Right, exactly. Oh my God. One person I know who will remain unnamed, I'll tell you off mic, but I'm sure you can figure it out. But they woke up at my house so pissed at my brother and was like, you'll never believe what he said to me. Like, this fucking ass was like fuming, like dead ass. And then she was like, oh my God, I think I dreamed that. And then we all talked about it and we were like, you dreamed that. That didn't happen. Well, now I'll have to bleep that out. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I was getting at is, you know, sometimes those lines are blurred between did it really happen or, you know, did I see it in a movie somewhere? But anyway.
Yeah, it's bad.
Go off.
So as I mentioned before, the events that happened caused fear throughout the town. Women of wealth packed up their clothes and children and checked into downtown's Hotel Grimm when their husbands were away on business. Others made Rube Goldberg-esque security systems. I don't know what that is, actually. Attaching pots and pans to a wire that would string around their property. So if, like, someone would go to their property, they would know someone's there. People...
like a Scooby-Doo booby trap.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. I shouldn't laugh. It's like a serious subject, but
listen, it's kind of funny because of the way that they did it. But anyway, people who had never owned guns slept with loaded pistols on both sides of the beds and made pallets on the floor so their children could sleep beside them. They were scared. So back to the Phantom Killer. Numerous individuals claimed to be the Phantom Killer, while other citizens came forward with accusations against various local residents, including an agent of the International Revenue Service. One young man, a student at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, which is in Washington County, who came from a prominent Texarkana family, and he killed himself in his room and left a poem and a confession that it was him, but they were all false leads.
Oh, shit. Wow.
But the one suspect who was most often cited as the probable killer was a repeat offender named Ul Sweeney, who had a record of car theft, counterfeiting, burglary, and assault.
Oh my God, it's Mr. Sweeney from
Mr.
fucking Boy Meets
Sweeney.
World.
It's him, UL.
Get out of here, Mr.
You
Sweeney. Was that his name, Mr. Sweeney? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Feeney. I'm a fucking idiot.
Oh my god. Feeney.
God damn it. I hate it.
Sweeney. I was there. I was like, yeah, that's what it is. In Arkansas, a law enforcement official by the name of Max Tackett had noticed that before each murder, there were reports of a car being stolen and then abandoned. In July 1946, a stakeout of a reported stolen car on the Arkansas side led police to a woman who claimed to be Sweeney's girlfriend. She provided details of the murders that had not been released to the public. Subsequently, her story changed, and she married Sweeney. Because of the unreliability of her testimony and the fact that she could not be forced to appear as a witness against her husband, law enforcement officials declined to prosecute UL Sweeney. In 1947, UL Sweeney was jailed for life as a repeat offender for a car theft, but was released on appeal in 1973. While some sources say he later died in prison, others say that he died in 1994 at a nursing home in Dallas. 2 days.
What do you mean some reports? How is that not documented?
Right, because they don't care about this man.
Well, I mean, the truth's out there.
So to date, the identity of the Phantom Killer remains unknown. While theoretically still open, it is considered a cold case. Now, in 1996, the Texarkana Gazette, which is a newspaper in Texarkana, they published a 24-page special section called The Phantom at 50, and the crime was revisited extensively and again in 2003 by the Dallas Morning News. I checked both of these, but they didn't really have any new cases according to the matter.
I mean, if it's a cold case, I don't know how much information they could get their hands on besides regurgitating, like, what exactly are you doing when you're revisiting? However, I do think it's important that they are revisited. But also, however, I'm going to sidebar that sidebar.
Sidebar.
If it's a publication, I'm not coming for the Gazette, the Texarkana Gazette. I'm not coming for you, sis, but, sometimes people revisit cases not for the betterment of the case itself or to solve it, but just to sell papers.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not accusing. I'm just saying that sometimes that's what happens.
Sounds right to me. Sounds good to me. Okay, that's the case of the Phantom Killer. It's not been resolved.
I've never heard of it. It never ceases to amaze me, and I'll say it every time, that how much crazy shit that I've never heard of. Like, I feel like I consume so much content, like a lot of content that happens to, like, true crime content or murderous cases. I consume a lot of it, and for that case to have happened in 1949 and I never heard of it, crazy.
It is really crazy. I just like the word Texarkana.
Come on down to Texarkana. Leave your burlap sack mask at home. Was that disrespectful? I didn't mean for that to be disrespectful. It probably was. John, edit that out. Who do you think did it?
I think it was that UL guy, but I think he scared his then
Mr.
girlfriend
Feeney
into saying that it was like false or changing her story.
Well, here's the thing: do they not have DNA traces?
Nope.
Well, I mean, also they didn't really think DNA was going to be a thing, and it really wasn't till like the late 80s, 90s.
Right, and that's why I feel like a lot of this wasn't like really
preserved.
It wasn't a deep dive, and like as the years goes, I feel like it's harder to like get those things back. Yeah,
and even if you could, I mean, we discussed it in the last episode that even if you could even like exhume a body, it's been so long that the results are most likely going to come back inconclusive.
Yeah, I agree. Because everything by now is probably like wasted or washed away at this point.
Right. I was gonna say, what if it was more, I mean, technically, I guess it could be more than one person, like true. working together, but in my head I was thinking, what if it was more than one person, like one person started it and then another person started doing it. But I think the fact that the first couple got away alive, in my head, that's just, a serial killer starting their rampage, like kind of easing into it. You know how they start off with animals and then they do these attacks and people aren't necessarily killed, and then it just kind of escalates from there. So never mind, I retract that statement. But
I retract that.
Interesting.
Most of my information was found through Wikipedia. I don't care what y'all say. I like to use Wikipedia. Others were the lineup. You could find the rest of our sources listed in the show notes.
Yes. All right. I guess I'm up to bat. So I got a lot of my information from ididitforjody.com, which I think is like a Jodie Foster website. I don't know.
Oh, we love that. I did it for Jody.
Right. Also, newspapers.com. There's a couple Herald Tribune articles. Also, a huge shout out to Reddit user Mills C616. I hope I wrote that down right. Whose name is Catherine. Catherine put a lot of information together online. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, can I shout you out? Because like your information really, the case that I'm about to cover isn't really talked about online. It was in publications, and between ididitforjody.com as well as Catherine, who actually went on to look through newspaper clippings and actually like include them in the sources of where she got. So I just want huge shout out, and I think she's a listener now because I told her we do this. So thanks if you're listening, Catherine. I appreciate it. And this is the Sarasota Mummy Murder.
Oh, mummy.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So Chandler Steffens, who went by Chan, but I'm going to be calling him Chandler because Chan reminds me of 4chan. He was born in 1937. He was the grandson of the former chairman of the Scripps Howard Broadcasting Company, which at the time of this case owned several newspapers. In 1950, when he was just 13 years old, his parents, Nina and Ken, got divorced. He lived in New York. It was either he lived in New York with his mom or his mom left and went and lived in New York. And at the same time, his father moved to Mexico and quickly remarried. A few years later, Chandler and his mother moved to Sarasota, Florida. His father was dodging alimony and actually ended up with a warrant out for his arrest. Love that.
For dad.
For the deadbeats, even though he was just rich and an asshole. So Chandler entered high school without much of a father in his life. He became the school's football star, but quit the team in 1954 because he didn't want to follow the training rules. What these training rules were and why he didn't want to follow them were not clear, but that was just noted a couple times. So Chandler's love... listen, I've been listening to so much B. Spears.
I'm glad you got the reference.
Hello, I'm a gay 27-year-old. You sounded just you know it's you sounded just like her. It's absolutely wild.
Absolutely insane.
God damn it. We both need to get out of our houses
You're
ASAP.
Not wrong.
Please. This quarantine needs to be over. Okay. So, Chandler's love for football was replaced with his love for a sophomore girl.
Oh, wow.
Betty Jane Thompson was local royalty, as they called her, as her father was one of the area's pioneer celery barons. That sounds like a fucking villain from VeggieTales.
Celery barons.
Does it not?
You celery
So I guess he was
barons.
like a celery salesman. I don't know, a baron, orthodontist. That's not funny.
What's
anyway,
a celery baron?
I don't, a salesperson for celery, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Don't press me with questions I can't answer. So, safe to say, both Chandler and this girl he started falling in love with, they were both, pretty wealthy. Chandler was actually a trust fund kid.
Ooh.
Right.
With a name like Chandler.
So, all I think about is Chandler Bing, and I feel like a lot of people are probably going to relate to that. Anyways. Chandler and Betty eloped in Brunswick, Georgia on January 27th, 1955. Like I said, she was a sophomore, and at the time he was a senior. So after Chandler's graduation, the couple moved to Cincinnati. It's not clear if she graduated high school. I assume not. But it's not clear. So after Chandler's graduation, the couple moved to Cincinnati, where Chandler attended the University of Ohio, and the couple eventually had 2 children, son Michael and daughter Patrice. But by 1959, the stress of raising a family had taken a toll on the young couple. Chandler dropped out of college his junior year, and the family returned to Florida so he could attend the University of Florida in Gainesville.
Oh, no.
And it was in Gainesville where the couple's relationship really started falling apart. Betty began feeling like Chandler was treating her more of a homemaker than a romantic partner. I'm not saying that this is right, but again, the year is 1959.
That's all I know.
Right. And, right. But again, I'm not taking his side on this.
No, hell no.
And she was feeling more like a homemaker than a romantic partner. And some nights he would stay out late, refusing to tell her where he was or what he was doing. Take that as you will.
Okay.
So they began fighting frequently. These were verbal. Nothing was ever reported physical. And at one point, Chandler had cursed and criticized Betty in front of her friends. So beyond closed doors, he, quote, always found fault with her, end quote. And he showed little affection, and he began to believe that he had married too young. So he's having like a midlife crisis at like 21.
Like, sir, you're the one who wanted to marry that woman, and you don't... Like,
right. But also, I mean, you got to take into consideration also
that it was the 1950s.
Yeah. The pressure of society. And also, like, if you found somebody you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you're young, you're dumb. You're like, oh, this is the one. And then you find out, hey, this person ain't for me.
I feel like it was always in around the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is when people did that. And they just like settled for whoever and got married and had kids. And now they're like unhappy.
I woke up this morning and I saw like kids I graduated from high school with had their 3rd child.
Yeah, and I'm over here.
Count them 1, 2, 3. I can barely take care of my damn self, okay? However, I did wake up this morning and I made banana muffins from scratch. So I'm kind of
See, what the fuck?
a homemaker.
You got it together.
Nah, we'll look into the definition of that word together.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, on June 1st, midway through the semester, Betty returned to Sarasota with the children, and she moved back in with her parents 182 miles away from Gainesville, Florida. Chandler, who was now 22, he stayed behind to finish out the academic year. And on July 15th, Betty filed for divorce on the grounds of, quote, extreme cruelty, end quote. But when Chandler finished his summer semester, he went to put the pieces of his family back together. And on August 5th, he drove from Sarasota to reunite with Betty and his kids. The couple decided to give their marriage another try for the sake of their young children, and Chandler's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the divorce suit. And despite their past, things actually seemed to have changed.
Wow.
Betty was genuinely happy when they got back together. She even promised to return to Gainesville with Chandler for his senior year so he could finish up and he wouldn't have to be alone. She would bring the kids. Though it's not totally clear when Chandler's father had re-entered his life again or if he ever completely fell off after high school. Chandler ended up getting kind of closer with his stepmother. And on the evening of August 5th, 1959, Chandler stayed at 934 Yale Court in a house that was owned and rented out by his stepmother. So my thought is, I just have a question, and there might be a simple answer, but I don't quite understand why he's staying at this house by himself
when he has a house.
Well, they don't have the house here.
Oh, okay.
He had just came back from university, and he's staying here, but Betty and the kids are staying at her parents' house. I'm not exactly sure of that. It didn't seem like it was super questioned in the articles and everything that I was reading. Anyway, just a thought that I had. So he's staying at this house by himself that is owned by his stepmother, but his stepmother does not live there. He's living there by himself. Chandler had a bad habit of not locking doors, and he liked to prop open the doors to get air moving while he slept. It's the 50s. You do what you want. It's in the
Prop your
it's in the
front door
floor.
open. It's like, hey, come in here.
Come on in. Come on in. Just hang out.
Steal my stuff.
Right. Steal my stuff. It's also Florida where, it's hot. It's a little humid. And his stepmother had actually left him a note reminding him to lock the doors because she saw that there was an increase of crime in the area. There usually wasn't crime in the area. Very few people would have known that he was staying there, like I said before. So Chandler woke up the next morning, August 6th, to the smell of smoke coming from his living room.
Oh,
He jumped up out of bed to find the living room couch on fire. After a failed attempt to put it out, he called the fire department, and it was written off as accidental. The next morning, Chandler and Betty went to the Ringling Shopping Center in downtown Sarasota to go shopping. Then they went to a diner. And then they went to dinner with Betty's parents before heading to a popular diner called Smacks.
Smacks.
They met several of their friends. By 10 p.m. that night, Chandler had gotten tired, as you do when you wake up in the morning and your couch is on
fire,
fire.
like a fucking sim or something.
Like a sim. They just wave their hands and they're like, what do I do?
That's what I felt like he did, because...
Except they're not saying, what do I do? They're like, Gerbisch-Glarben-Argen. Gerbisch-Glarben-Argen. Oh my God. What was I saying? Okay, so it's 10 p.m. Chandler's tired. He wants to go to bed. He drops Betty off at her parents' house so she could take care of one of their kids who had fallen ill. And he got back in his car and he went to drive back to where he was staying. Chandler promised to call her the next day. So as Betty entered her parents' house, he drove off heading back to the house on Yale Court. The next morning, at 11:45 a.m., just before noon, Betty arrived at the house because Chandler had promised to call her, but he hadn't. When she arrived, she opened the unlocked front door and came across a gruesome scene before running out of the house screaming. When the police arrived, Betty had to be sedated.
Yikes.
22-year-old Chandler Steffens was found dead in his bedroom. His feet had been bound with 2 ropes behind his back and was choked repeatedly with a cord from an electric fan. He was stabbed 3 times with a cork-handled knife, the kind that's used by scuba divers, one in the abdomen, the right shoulder, and in the right side between his ribs, which was a wound that punctured his lung. So, as if that wasn't bad enough, his throat had been slit from ear to ear,
Yikes.
severing an artery. He was nearly naked, wearing only his underwear and a mask made out of surgical tape. You and I had similar stories when it comes to the mask here, and that's fucking horrifying. So the coroner estimated Chandler's time of death somewhere between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. So investigators were looking at this like, what the actual fuck happened here? And they started piecing together. Right, they pieced together what they think happened. So in the late hours between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., someone snuck in through an unlocked door, possibly a door that had been left wide open to let air through.
Look at that.
Right. Chandler was bludgeoned as he slept, which didn't kill him, but kept him unconscious. The killer bound his feet with manila tow rope and then sliced a cord from an electric fan and fashioned it around his neck, attached via slip knot to the rope, securing Chandler's hands in a way that guaranteed once he returned to consciousness, he would choke himself with every movement he made. It's a little bit hard to explain, and I don't want to post a picture of it, but just know that it kind of set him up in a situation where when he woke up and he freaked out, it would pretty much start, going at his neck. So the killer then closed the windows and blinds and turned out the lights. It was a hot night, in the high 80s that night in Florida. Keep that in mind. Using medical tape and scissors, the killer fashioned a perfect mask around Chandler's face, leaving only 2 small nostril holes for him to breathe. So his eyes are covered with this mask. Every inch of his face was neatly covered, and when he returned to consciousness, Chandler would not be able to open his eyes or even speak. Police found 4 separate imprints of the bloody knife on the bed sheets, which indicated that perhaps the killer took time to set the knife down between stabbing to look at and possibly admire his work. The killer slashed Chandler's throat from ear to ear, like I said before, severing an artery. It would have taken him 10 minutes to bleed out. Chandler had flung himself in agony from the bed to the floor, and this was his ultimate cause of death. How fucked up is that? So the killer then washed his hands and possibly showered and then packed up his tools. He took one of Chandler's towels with him, possibly because it was covered in blood, and $70 from his wallet. Though police believe that was merely an afterthought and the robbery, that was not the main motive for the killing. No alcohol was found during his autopsy, and there were no signs of forced entry or a struggle, which again led police to believe that the killer came in and left through an unlocked side door. Neighbors heard nothing during the attack. Chandler's room was neat and orderly, with his pants still folded over a chair. However, one resident noted that most of the houses in that neighborhood were empty during the summer because the people who lived there decided to spend their time up north. So then there may not have been as many neighbors in the neighborhood.
Right.
According to investigators, the killer was in the room for a minimum of 40 minutes. Lieutenant Arthur Johnson later told a reporter, quote, "Whoever killed Steffens was in no hurry. We believe he spent a minimum of 40 minutes and probably more in the act." Another investigator said, quote, "It took time and care to make the mask. It's not the sort of thing that an ordinary prowler would do. The tape was wound and cut expertly. It was very cleanly done," end quote. So there were, however, fingerprints lifted from the tape that authorities had sent to the FBI for comparison. But again, you got to remember, back then we're talking 1959.
Mm-hmm.
DNA wasn't a thing. Well, I mean, it was a thing, but DNA comparison, and they didn't have an electronic database to run the prints through back then. So investigators initially believed that the tape came from a hospital. However, one lieutenant believed that the knife, rolls of tape, and the rope had been stolen from a first aid kit at a lifeguard stand in Lido Beach, which had not been reported as stolen at the time because it seemed trivial. I mean, if I'm a lifeguard and a first aid kit goes missing, I'm not going to be like, somebody stole it, because
right.
it doesn't seem important.
Maybe this happens a lot. Maybe someone took it. I don't know.
Right. Maybe it's just misplaced. I don't fucking know. Right. So police interrogated Chandler's friends and family, trying to determine if anybody had a grudge against him. Detectives eventually questioned 400 suspects and gave 48 lie detector tests. No perpetrators or valuable motives could be found. Wow, how fucking crazy. Frustrating. So then the police turned to Betty, thinking there was a possibility, that it could have been a financial motive. Under the suspicion that she had hired an assassin, investigators dug through their theory with a fine-toothed comb. Although Chandler was independently wealthy, he was the beneficiary of a trust fund which paid approximately $175 per month, and he also owned over $5,000 worth of Scripps Howard stock. Again, this is 1959, and the heir to the fortune was more than $250,000.
Wow.
So they're like, interesting.
Right.
But you got to remember that Betty herself was well off. Not that the wealthy can't want more wealth, but
that wouldn't make like a motive, I don't think.
Right. If Betty really wanted his estate, she would have likely waited for Chandler's inheritance before killing him or having him killed. So police basically cleared Betty and her family after, looking into it, and they weren't suspicious anymore. So in hindsight, the living room couch fire was most likely a trial run for murder. Remember how that couch just fucking went up?
Yeah, haha.
Police believed that an intruder snuck in and set the couch on fire in an attempt to gauge whether Chandler was a light or heavy sleeper, or maybe just to, fuck with him mentally.
Right.
Usually, in cases like this, victims are killed by somebody they know, but investigators couldn't find any known enemies, and it seemed unlikely that an enemy from his past held on to a grudge for so long because, remember, he went away. He was in Ohio. Plus, there was the fact that he had only been in Sarasota for 48 hours and hadn't lived in town for nearly 4 years. So he hadn't been in town for 4 years, and he was only back for 2 days.
Make someone hate him that much.
Right, exactly. So after investigating, police found that the Lido Beach lifeguard first aid kit had been stolen before Chandler had even returned to town. Mm. So they're like, okay, so somebody may have stolen this with the thought to kill somebody and just went for whoever. So besides that, Chandler had never lived at 934 Yale Court. Like I said before, it was his stepmother's rental property, and only Betty and a few friends knew that he was staying there.
Do you think they were trying to kill the stepmom?
I don't know. I don't particularly think so. All of that to say, it became very possible that Chandler was the victim of a completely random, spontaneous murder killed by a stranger. So the headlines in the newspaper referred to Chandler Steffen's death as the Sarasota Mummy Murder. You had the Moonlight Murder, I got the Mummy Murder, because those tabloids would sell. And the unknown killer was referred to as a, quote, sex-perverted prowler, end quote.
Why?
I'll get into it in 1 second. While the media went crazy, the investigation was rocky. Investigators knew that the mask was their best clue, but after consulting with multiple psychologists, none could agree on the mask's purpose. They're like, why would somebody go about doing this? They interviewed psychologists. I think they interviewed 2 or 3, and none of them could be like, they couldn't pinpoint a reason. Detectives interrogated all known sex offenders in the area, but were unable to develop any leads. The local gay community was scrutinized as well. The first person of interest in Chandler's murder was an unnamed gay male hairdresser who ended up leaving town shortly after the crime. The stylist was eventually tracked down and cleared. Eventually, all of the people of interest had been eliminated, and the investigation hit a wall. So then investigators were like, well, maybe the psychologist can figure out a reason for this tape mask, but let's see if we can figure something out. So apparently back in the 1950s, condemned prisoners in Asia were masked before execution. I know it's a reach, but they were like, yeah, let's grab onto something. So one detective told the Sarasota Journal that he believed the mask was part of a mystic rite. There was quotes around mystic rite.
Okay, I was going to say, huh?
Mystic rite. So investigators began questioning residents who had ties to Asia, obviously, which led to racist biases. In the 1950s in America, absolutely not. Never. It was sarcastic. So investigators began contacting police departments across the country to see if any other jurisdictions had experienced similar crimes. They were like, hey, have you found anybody murdered brutally wearing a mask?
Possibly maybe burned their couch beforehand.
Yeah, anything like that. Does that ring a bell? But again, they found themselves at square one. So on August 13th, 1960, police set their eyes on a Tampa department store clerk named James Leland Webb, who had walked up to a sleeping stranger and bound the victim's hands before suffocating the man with a plastic bag. Webb had been spotted in the act and was arrested. When asked why he had killed the victim, Webb stated that he got a thrill out of seeing, oh, this is so creepy, quote, relaxed flesh.
Ew.
Yeah. In Webb's car, detectives found a strange device with a 4-inch pencil-shaped handle and a needle about 4 inches long. Don't know what that's about.
Right, I was like, huh?
It sounds like my stick and poke shit. So alas,
literally,
although Webb was clearly a deviant first-class detectives, were unable to place him in Sarasota at the time of Chandler's death. Webb was never tried for his victim's murder. He actually was declared unfit to stand trial and was committed to a local insane asylum. So for that murder he did with that man, he went to an asylum. He couldn't stand trial for it, but he was never tried for Chandler's death because, again, they couldn't place him in Sarasota. So then in October of 1963, which was 4 years after the Sarasota Mummy Murders, another killing drew similarities. 23-year-old James F. Robinson was found handcuffed and bound in chains in his bedroom in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's close to here.
Not too far from Philly. Several strips of adhesive tape had been wound around his head. The similarities were striking. Both victims were attractive young men found in unlocked homes in wealthy areas. Both victims had connections to the world of publishing. This is fucking weird. Remember Chandler, he was the grandson of the former chairman of Scripps Howard, and James Robinson was the son of the former vice president of Curtis Publishing. Don't know what that is.
Don't know what that is.
There were, however, dissimilarities. You know, the tape on Chandler was 2 inches wide, but the one on James was only 1 inch wide. I don't know if this guy if it was the same killer, if he had a fetish with tape. I don't know if that mattered.
Right.
Another dissimilarity, which don't know if it matters, but James Robinson was found fully naked while Chandler was found in his underwear. But James Robinson had not been stabbed. He was choked to death with his own belt, which had been wrapped around his neck and secured to a bedpost. Despite the similarities, detectives were not able to develop any further information linking the crimes. And for for his case in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania authorities eventually became convinced that James Robinson died in a self-inflicted Houdini stunt gone awry.
What?
Right. I don't know if these are connected. So get ready.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
So the area was experiencing something of an unsolved homicide spurt at the time. 4 months later, just 10 miles away from Chandler's murder location, 4 people were shot to death in their own home. The victims were Debbie, Jimmy, Cliff, and Christine Walker, the Walker family. A bitch.
Wow.
If you did not listen to episode 109, you need to do that.
Right now, and you'll figure out why we're freaking out.
So, if you don't remember, Stanley Mock, let me tell you about Stanley Mock. He was 25 years old in 1959, and he read meters for the electric company. Before Chandler's murder, he sought the help of a psychiatrist to stop what he called an uncontrollable urge to kill his wife and small children. Police focused their attention on Stanley, whose meter route included the Mummy Murder house on Yale Court and the Walker family home. I don't know if you remember, but I briefly touched on this in the last episode. I did not include the mummy at all.
No.
But that's what I referred to in the previous episode. However, just like in the Walker family murder, detectives never found evidence to link him to either crime.
Wow.
And it's still a mystery. Because that is the unsolved case of Chandler Steffens, the victim of the Sarasota Mummy Murder. What do you think?
I think it's crazy that your 2 stories combined like that.
Bruh, not only that, technically 3. Because the last one was two whammies and now a third. What the fuck?
Also, and they're finding nothing to do with anything about these cases. That's the crazy part. Also, I feel like I said something before that sounded like not very empathetic, but I didn't mean it like that. It was when I was like, oh, he's literally sleeping with his door open and unlocked. And I feel like I implied that he deserved what happened to him, but that's not what I meant.
I don't think you implied that at all. I mean, you were just, if you sleep with your door open, I know that it was a different time, but like if you sleep with your door open, you're sleeping with your door open.
Right. At the end of the day, period.
You weren't saying he deserved it. You weren't saying he invited it in. But also, you got to think, like, the Night Stalker. This is something that has stuck with me every night. Literally, I think about this every night before I go to bed. The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, had it in his fucked up little head that if somebody left their light on, it was an invitation. That he read it as an invitation
for kill them.
Exactly, to come on in. So, you know, you weren't saying that. I don't think you're insensitive. So I feel like you don't have to apologize. You also didn't know where the fuck the story was going. So no need to apologize. But how fucking nuts.
That's so crazy. I wonder, it must have been just some random person that like saw that his door was open and was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was. I really do think that's what it was. And it could have been Stanley Mock. Here's the thing. It was on his meter route, right? Unless he got like an obsession with that house.
Right.
Yeah, because it's not like Chandler lived there all the time. He was only in town for...
saw this fucking douche and was like, I'm going to kill that guy.
Right. He was in town for 2 days. So if anything, he would have saw him once, maybe
did the couch
once.
thing and then went back to kill him. If that's like...
Here's another thing. Like, yeah, it's weird, but you also got to think, how often is somebody reading a meter?
Yeah, right?
Like, what are the odds that out of the 48 hours he was there, it happened to be the one day that this Stanley Mock... I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I'm not saying he did do it. I just think it's like... Yeah. There is the coincidence that, yes, that house was on his route.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, does that have anything to do with anything? Right.
Also, it could have been aimed towards his stepmom.
Right. I mean, that's another thing. It could have been Stanley Mock thinking like, oh, I'm not exactly sure. I couldn't really find much information. Like if the mom lived there, I think she may have, or if she just rented it out to people.
Oh, that would make
I'm
sense.
not sure. I had read a little sidebar about this while I was doing research for my previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I should look into that. And I looked into it. There really isn't much. Like people haven't really covered this case at all. And I think it's insane. Also, I will mention that they had one fingerprint that I know I briefly mentioned it, the fingerprint that they looked into. That was from the mask. They looked into it again and they couldn't find anything.
Really?
When they looked into it again, it looked like it may have been a fingerprint, but what I was gathering, because again, there weren't too many fucking articles about it, was that whoever fashioned the mask, the killer, was wearing gloves, like rubber gloves. How creepy is that though? Like imagine being Betty walking in and like seeing that. Like that poor girl, she went through some shit.
Right?
That's my story.
And I'm sticking to it.
You love saying that. So you got a little something for me?
This story is about Luis Alfredo Garavito Cubillos. I'm going to be referring to him as Garavito for most of the story.
Okay.
So Garavito was born on January 25th, 1957. He was also known as La Bestia, which means the beast, or Tribbilian, which is the name of a Disney character, Goofy. And Garavito was from Genova, Quindino, Colombia.
Wow, you got a lot of words.
I do, but that's why I started calling him Garavito the whole time after this, because I was like, I don't really know, like, what's happening right now. These words are hard. They're hard words. Though Garavito's mother is unknown, it had been talked about from the community of Genova that Garavito's mother had been a long-time sex worker. During the time of sex work, Garavito's mother had been brutally abused by Garavito's father, who was a heavy alcoholic, and who was also abusing Garavito and his siblings.
Hold on. Isn't that from the Princess Diaries?
That's Genovia.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Genovia.
Okay, sorry.
That's my favorite
I'm a
movie.
dumbass.
Okay, So around this time, Garavito's father would force Garavito to watch his mother basically participate in sexual intercourse with her clients, and his mother would also let her clients sexually abuse and molest Garavito.
Jesus.
The story is very sad, so bear with me. Under the influence of drugs, Garavito's mother could not do anything due to the abuse and torture of Garavito's alcoholic father. At the age of 8, Garavito was found by a pedophile. The town that they lived in was a very poor town, so he often roamed the streets for meals and a place to stay, so he didn't have to deal with what was going on at home. So Garavito thinks he finds this really nice man. This man is promising him a hot meal and a place to rest. Garavito, he accepts the offer, but instead of a hot meal and a place to sleep, the man led Garavito to an abandoned house where Garavito was sexually assaulted. A few days later, Garavito then joined a gang for protection. The gang often robbed the Colombian civilians for food, money, cars, and they would exchange it at local chop shops. So for food and things like that. At the age of 16, Garavito ran away from home to try to start a new life away from his abusive father. To find work, he had to travel all over Colombia. He began by working as a store clerk before he took to the streets to become a vendor who sold prayer cards and religious icons. Despite his constant travel, Garavito had a girlfriend who also had a small child. It is said that Garavito treated the young child well, and his friends described him as a kind man, but did note his volcanic temper. Garavito continued his roaming lifestyle through his adulthood, and moved from town to town in search of work. Garavito picked up his father's alcoholic tendencies and was known to drink heavily and behave violently in every location until he was kicked out and had to move somewhere else. According to police reports, Garavito once attempted suicide and spent 5 years under psychiatric care. So things for Garavito began to get really lonely. In 1992, that's what we'll call it. It's a bad word right now, but I can't use any other word without saying what's going to happen next.
Okay.
He was extremely careful in terms of who he picked as a victim. All of his victims were boys that were ages 6 to 16 who were orphaned, peasants, or homeless. He knew that these children were vulnerable and no one would report them missing. In most instances, Garavito would approach the boys to lure them away with small gifts or money. While he was careful, in some cases, by approaching them in the countryside, there were other occasions where he blatantly came up to them in crowded streets.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, he endured a lot of trauma as a child, but, like, this story is very sad.
I mean, and there's also something about... not the comfort, but like being a child and one, thinking adults have the best intentions for you, and two, being in a public place where there's a bunch of other people around and having somebody come up to you and being like, you know,
right,
saying
and like,
something to you and,
like your
and
house
you not
is
thinking much of it.
Garavito would also pretend to offer work to the boys, and sometimes he disguised himself as a character to gain trust of his victims. For example, he would dress up as a priest, elderly man, drug dealer, or a farmer.
No.
Yeah, and
What? Wait, a drug dealer?
yeah, I don't know. I guess like
just a trustworthy drug dealer. You know, you want some meth? Just kidding. Come on over here, kiddo. What do you want to do?
Right.
Like what?
To avoid suspicion, he changed his character regularly. Once he had the trust of the boys, they would set off on a long walk until the children got tired.
I don't like this shit. I don't like where this shit is going.
At that stage, Garavito claimed that they were easier to deal with. Garavito used these tactics hundreds of times until he was finally arrested in 1999. Between 1992 and 1999, Garavito preyed on innocent young boys throughout Colombia without fear of capture. Like I said, when he was finally arrested, he admitted to murdering boys in as many as 54 towns across the country.
Wait, whoa, what?
He murdered so many. I'll get there.
Oh my god.
I shouldn't have said that because it's going to ruin the whole story, but like...
No, the story... Listen, this podcast, we don't talk about great things that happen. Jesus.
The combination of his constant traveling, disguises, and the fact that his victims often weren't missed meant Garavito was able to do what he pleased for 7 years. It appeared as if most of the murders took place near Peoria, his native region. Okay, so this part is...
Is this a trigger warning?
It's a trigger warning, and the things I'm about to discuss are very terrible.
Okay.
And I just want to give a heads up.
Okay. All right, y'all. You've been warned. Maybe heed the warning.
Once Garavito tired his victims out, he would tie them up before torturing and raping them. In some cases, he would cut off their genitals and stuff them in the victims' mouths. Mind you, these are 6 to 16-year-old boys. Garavito also decapitated numerous victims. The bodies were usually discovered in shallow graves with several bite marks on them, and the crime scene was surrounded by bottles of liquor and lubricant.
Oh my god.
After his arrest, Garavito claimed that he was drunk when he killed the children and that his body had been taken over by a superior being. Like, fuck you. You're a sick fuck, and you're gonna sit here and say that your body was taken over? Like, fuck you. Garavito's spree remained a secret for several years, even though clusters of bodies were found across Colombia. I did send you a picture. You don't have to use this, but there's a picture of people, like, actually finding the bodies in bags, and there's a picture of it.
God.
You can't really see anything in the pictures, but I titled it so you know what it is.
Okay. 100% it's not going to be on social media. I haven't looked at it yet. I probably won't put it on the website, but it might be on the website, if anywhere.
The problem was a few victims weren't even reported missing since they came from incredibly poor families.
Yeah. I mean, that's fucking what was in the back of his head, too.
Right. The whole time. A lot of the boys were street children that had been separated from their families during the Colombian conflict, which began in 1964. The political violence in the country had displaced an estimated 1.5 million people within the previous decade. So there was a lot of kids that didn't have parents.
Right.
Sadly, the streets of Colombia's towns were filled with hungry boys in tattered clothes, so when a seemingly kind stranger approached, they were only too happy to have the chance to eat and perhaps sleep in a warm bed for the night. Once they went missing, nobody noticed. As a result, the Criminal Justice Department paid little attention to the missing kids until a mass grave of Garavito's alleged victims was found in a ravine in Pereira. The grave contained bodies of 25 young boys and was discovered in November 1997. That's not even...
25?
Yeah, and it goes on.
Holy shit. Sarah.
Yeah.
I was not ready.
The story is like... It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, when police found the mass grave, this started a widespread investigation, and the investigation started in February 1998. The bodies of 2 naked children were found beside one another on a hill outside the town of Genoa in Colombia. A third victim was discovered nearby the following day, along with the murder weapon. The police also found a note at the scene with an address on it and information that led police to Garavito's girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
How the fuck did that get there?
He probably wrote it down and slipped out of his pocket or some shit. Under questioning, she said she hadn't seen Garavito in several months, but she was able to get a bag which would contain a number of his possessions. These possessions that she gave to the police were proof of his guilt, as they consisted of pictures of young boys, journals of killings, and tally marks of his victims.
Wait, whoa. Did she know? Did she know that? Did she know that was what was in his books?
She had to have.
Okay.
I feel like it doesn't say if she knew or not, but like...
Right, how do you... I guess, how do you not? But also, I mean... I want to get mad at her for not reporting anything because she could have saved somebody. But at the same time, I'm the type of person that, like, when I had a boyfriend, I never would cross that boundary of looking into his... I wouldn't even think about doing something like that. So I guess I can kind of see. All right. I just nipped my own argument in the bud.
In the bud. So as it transpired, Garavito had been in police custody before, back in 1996. On June 8th of that year, a young boy went missing in Boyaca, and his body was found 5 days later. His mother began a search and discovered that her son was last seen in a local shop with other kids and a man who bought them candy. Garavito was identified as the stranger and brought in for questioning by the police. He confessed to the purchase of the candy, but claimed he left the boys alone. This was enough for the police, who released him, and he murdered the boys 4 days later. After speaking with Garavito's girlfriend, they were able to use information to find his current home, but it was vacant. However, local police arrested a man a few days later in the region on suspicion of attempted rape of a young boy. Garavito had attacked the boy, but a homeless man saw what was happening and rescued the child. The homeless man didn't realize it, but he had helped catch one of history's most prolific killers.
Yikes.
Right. Garavito was finally arrested on April 22nd, 1999, but his captors were initially unaware of what he did. However, he cracked under questioning and confessed to the dozens of murders. Along with the confession, the Justice Department had a mountain of evidence, including Garavito's DNA on the victims and a pair of glasses specifically designed for an eye condition the killer suffered from. Garavito confessed to the murders of 140 children in Colombia and was charged with 172 counts of homicide.
Is he like the most prolific serial killer? I don't know if I know of a body count that's higher than that.
Right. And it's all young
Holy
boys.
Shit. Oh.
Luis Garavito was found guilty of 138 counts, and while his sentence should have been over 1,853 years in prison, Colombian law had a maximum prison sentence of 40 years.
The fuck it didn't.
Right.
You better not.
This is going to get you really mad. This is going to get everyone really mad.
All right.
Since he also cooperated with the police and showed them the location of some of the bodies, his sentence was reduced to 22 years.
Hi.
Isn't that so crazy?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
22 years?
Yep.
Please tell me this motherfucker died in jail. Please tell me he got the shit beat out of him. Please tell me. Well, how many years ago was that? 1999. Oh, shit.
So he's supposed to get released in 2021.
Bruh.
But they're saying that it seems like he'll be in prison for life. Like, they'll just keep, like, prolonging his sentence.
Yeah, when he's up for, I mean, I don't know what they call parole over there, but you know what? I hope he gets corona. I hope he gets coronavirus and he dies very slowly. Because fuck that man. Holy shit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you finish, but wow, I'm mad.
So the exact number of Garavito's victims will never be known, but it could be as high as 400, according to some estimates.
Whoa. What? Fucking 400?
Yeah, because at the time that they were investigating, 27 of his victims can't even be identified.
I wish you could see. I literally just caught a glimpse of my face in the mirror. I wish you could see. Bruh, what?
He also lived in Ecuador at some point in his life and has been linked to murders of young boys there, too. So
you've covered a lot of fucked up people in your time. But I think this one takes the cake, Sarah.
And, well, I have one more thing to tell you that's going to be the most disappointment of all.
Okay, well, the bar's on the floor, so let's take it to the basement.
So he's still in prison, but he is kept isolated from other prisoners for his safety.
I mean, okay, that makes me mad.
Yeah,
but
right?
also, I'm hoping that it's like the shoebox from Orange is the New Black.
Right? It better be the fucking shoe.
Is that what they called it? The shoe?
Yeah, the shoe.
I called it the shoebox. Listen, who wants Skechers? If I had a Skechers, I'd beat him in the fucking face with it. I can only hope that he is alone and going even crazier and crazier and never gets out. Wow.
I hope he never gets out too.
I'm literally, in my head, I'm trying to, I mean, I know it's been a while since we've like done the podcast, but I'm trying to think back to everybody you've covered. This guy might be the worst.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely the worst.
I don't think I've ever heard of a body count that's a fucking high. Not only, let alone the fact that it's children.
Right.
Holy shit, I've never heard of this man before.
He literally preyed on them because they didn't have homes.
Yeah, easy target because he's fucking. I mean, I know he went through some shit. Does not give an excuse.
Yeah, no
I know
way.
he's mentally unstable. Does not give an excuse. That's fucked up. That is some fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at. I just clicked on a picture online, and I'm looking at. It looks like a sculpture in the side of a mountain. Do you know anything about this?
Oh yes, I sent you a picture of that. That's like a memorial for his victims.
That's the memorial.
Yeah, isn't it like kind of creepy?
I mean, I understand. You guys listening, go check our social media. I understand. Maybe I don't understand. That's the memorial.
Yeah.
That's. I would understand if it was like not an art piece, but like a statement being like, this man did this fucked up shit. It looks like something that you would bring to a protest when you're about to let somebody out, not exactly a memorial.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose that.
I'm a little disturbed, but
like it wasn't a memorial, but it was a mural. But like, isn't that the same thing?
Right? Yeah. I feel like if you're gonna do a mural, well, here, yeah, because I feel like because I'm looking at it and it's just it really is making me uncomfortable. If you're gonna make a mural, it should be a memorial, or it should be some. I don't know. I'm just gonna stop before I say something, but that's an interesting choice by the artist,
yes.
And I would like to
meet him.
I will look into why this person chose to do that, because I feel like there's a more tasteful way of going about. If you want to remember these victims, I don't know if that's the right way.
No way. It looks like they're like screaming and running away.
It looks like the way that they found their dead bodies.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't like it. Okay. Well, fuck.
Yeah, that's the story of Luis Garavito.
You did a good job reporting it, but that's your worst story. Fuck off. That is, Sarah, deadass, I think that might be your worst story.
Why do I always find the worst ones? Well, I feel like you find really bad ones.
Here we go again. I've never heard of this story, and that makes me so... That's so fucked up. That's so sad. And also, it's like, you know, you look up this person, and it's so... it's his name you're going to remember, not the children.
Not the victims, yeah. Well, the victims, it's like their names are not identified.
Yeah. Oh, I think I found the picture that you sent me. If it is, I don't think I'm going to post it.
Okay, yeah. I figured, but I figured I'd just give you what I had.
Right. I get it. Don't, y'all listening, maybe don't look it up, but
it's bad.
Wow. That was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that.
It was a lot to take in.
Oh shit. The date he was apprehended, it says here, was April 22nd, which as we record this was yesterday.
I said that.
Oh.
Me.
I'm sorry.
It's literally me.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was listening, I swear, but you were saying bad things.
No, it's okay. I'm the same way. I don't pay attention. I pay attention to like details, but like not dates. That just like goes literally over my head. Like I can pay attention to like what's happening, but like dates I don't pick up on. Like you could say it was today and I wouldn't be like, oh my God, that was today.
Literally, Sarah, you've said so many. How many episodes have we done where I'm like, wait, hold on, I know you said this, but what's the date?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I like to picture, like, are we in the 70s? Are we in the 80s?
And
what are the
apparently
shoulder
I'm
pads
dyslexic because I don't ever get the dates right.
1884 and 4 years ago. Jesus fucking Christ. I hated that story.
Yeah,
that was
it was
bad.
a lot.
You're deleted. You're canceled.
Definitely a trigger
You're
warning.
not canceled. I love you. Do you have a fun fact? Let's turn this beat around. So my fun fact is that it would take 1,200,000 mosquitoes, each sucking at once, to completely drain the average human of blood. Well, baby, I ain't no average human. I'll tell you that. I got a fat patty and a thick ass. You got mosquitoes?
Yes.
Because I got Doritos, and it's going straight to my thighs. I'll tell you. It's going to take more than 1,200,000 mosquitoes to take this fat patty down.
Literally,
I'll tell you that.
Okay. My fun fact is, did you know that Q is the only letter that doesn't appear in the 50 states?
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. I know that J's the only letter that doesn't appear on the periodic table.
Yeah.
But I guess I never thought about Q.
Q, bitch. Q.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we jump into our tweet of the week, that reminds me. I don't know if you want to announce this, but I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. Y'all, I'm on Words with Friends, and I posted my name, and I got a lot of requests.
I deleted it.
I can't guarantee that I'll play you, but you deleted it?
Yeah.
But we were having so much fun.
It was a lot for me.
You deleted it?
I literally can only figure out 3-letter words.
Okay, fine. Well, if you guys want to play me, add me.
Add him. Play with him.
J Carson 218. That's the letter J Carson 218, and I will play you back.
Play me back.
I'm not that great at keeping up. I think I'm juggling. I posted it on Instagram, and I got like, not to brag, but like 35 requests.
Keeping up with J Carson 215.
218, bitch, is my
know.
birthday. Eat a dick. All right. Do you have your Twitter? Your
Yeah.
tweet of the week?
I do.
Are you going to say it, or do you want me to ask another question?
No, I have it. Okay. So this is
You sound like that teacher who's just like, can I go to the bathroom? I don't know.
Can you?
Can you?
I had to find it.
okay.
It's still recording.
stalling.
It says
Gotcha.
at the top. So I took a chance. This is from @ZB. My dad once woke me up in the middle of the night because he said it disturbed him how peacefully I slept without a degree. He said he'd be tossing and turning the whole time if it were me. I was still in high school when he did this, guys.
Wait, that sounded like more than 140 characters. God damn.
Well, it was like
whatever
a
it is
reply underneath.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is coming from @CyborgHanky, my friend Henry, who was doing the PowerPoint presentations. And it says, there has never in the history of the world been created anything quite so destructive as red receipts.
Henry's not wrong.
Henry's not wrong. You leave people on red all the time.
I do. That's why I do it.
I never turn my red receipts on.
Well, for me, it's like, there's no middleman here. Like, you can't come to me and say, hey, did you get my text? You saw that I got your text and I didn't reply.
And I feel like that in itself is a reply, is it not?
That's what I'm saying. Well, like, sometimes it's because I'm high and I forget to reply. And then other times, it's like, does this need a reply? Like, you just gotta read the room.
You just gotta read the room. And you there listening, you just gotta give us a review. Give us a 5-star review, please. It greatly helps us out. Head to esotericoddities.com, and if you at the top you can click episodes. Go ahead and find episode, what is this, 110, I think. And there you will see the pictures and everything we talked about today. Follow us on social media.
Follow us.
Blase, blah. And I really have to pee, so we're gonna go.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.